Have you ever wondered why, even when you know exactly what you need to do, you just don't do it? What if I told you that your search for motivation or to feel ready is the very reason you're still stuck? The uncomfortable truth is that the human mind isn't designed to change with feelings. It changes with actions. Waiting for the desire to act is the biggest trap imprisoning your dreams. Understanding this neural mechanism is what separates the people who transform their lives from those who just collect goals for next year. In this video, I will reveal the scientific method to reverse this logic, using your body to change your mind and your actions to sculpt a new identity. But understanding the trap is just the beginning. The real power lies in learning how to build the way out. Stay with me until the end to discover not only why you're stuck, but how to build, brick by brick, the person you want to become.
The secret cost of change. Why your brain prefers to keep you exactly where you are. Think about the last time you were in a bank line. The still air, the repetitive sound of the electronic ticket dispenser, the feeling that time is dragging on. You are physically still, but your mind is elsewhere, planning what you would do if you were free. This agony of forced immobility is a perfect metaphor for the inertia in our lives. We want to be somewhere else, healthier, more productive, more confident, but we remain in the same line, waiting for our number to be called. The thing is, this line isn't external. It's built inside our own minds. The main villain of this story, the force that keeps us in line, has a name: energy efficiency. Your brain is an absolute master at saving energy. Every habit, every thought pattern, every emotional reaction you repeat becomes a paved neural pathway, a high-speed highway. Acting the way you've always acted is fast, easy, and, above all, cheap in terms of metabolic cost. Your current identity, with all its flaws and frustrations, is an oasis of efficiency for your brain. To change, on the other hand, is to ask it to ignore the highway and start building, with its own hands, a trail in the middle of a dense forest. It's expensive, it's slow, and it's uncomfortable. This is why the famous willpower seems to fail so often. You are not fighting against laziness or a lack of discipline. You are fighting against an ancient survival mechanism that is programmed to resist anything that spends more energy than necessary. When you decide to wake up earlier, your brain doesn't see a promise of productivity, it sees an unnecessary expenditure of resources. When you decide to skip that dessert, it doesn't see a health goal, it sees the denial of a quick and guaranteed energy source. Understanding this is the first step to stop blaming yourself. You are not weak, you are just operating on the default hardware of human biology. The real question isn't, why is it so hard to change? But rather, how can we strategically convince this ultra-efficient system that building the new trail is worth the energy cost?
The great motivation lie. Why waiting for the right feeling is a losing game. You know that smell of fresh coffee in the morning? It fills the room even before you open your eyes. It's a trigger, a chemical signal that tells your brain the day has begun. The reward, caffeine, warmth, ritual, is on its way. This aroma builds an almost instantaneous bridge between a state of drowsiness and the action of getting up. Now, honestly, when was the last time you smelled the scent of motivation to go to the gym on a cold day? Or to open that spreadsheet and organize your finances? Never. And that's the point. We've been conditioned to believe that for life's big changes, a magical feeling of readiness should arrive first, like the smell of coffee.
This is the great motivation lie. From a neuroscience perspective, motivation is not the cause of action. Most of the time, it's the result. What we call motivation is largely a chemical cocktail led by dopamine, a neurotransmitter released when our brain anticipates or receives a reward. The problem is that your brain, that master of efficiency we met in the last chapter, only learns to release dopamine for actions that have been rewarded in the past. It has a reward circuit for scrolling through your Instagram feed because it already knows it will find quick stimuli. It has a circuit for sugar because the energy reward is immediate. But it doesn't have a reward circuit for the first 50 times you go to the gym. That neural pathway doesn't exist yet. Waiting to feel motivated to act is a neurological paradox. It's like waiting for the applause before the show begins. You're asking your brain for an advance on a chemical reward for a job it hasn't even started, and worse, one that it considers a waste of energy. It's a dead end. You don't find motivation, you build it. Action, no matter how small, is the spark, the first step on the new uncomfortable path. Upon completing that small action, the brain releases a tiny dose of dopamine. It's not euphoria, but a whisper that says, "Okay, that was productive. We survived." And it is this whisper, repeated day after day, that begins to carve the new riverbed, the new neural pathway. Motivation doesn't push you to act. Action generates the motivation to keep acting. The guardian of the cage. How your current identity sabotages your change. There's a universally familiar feeling. The Sunday afternoon. The sun begins to set, the light softens, and a subtle melancholy hangs in the air. It's a moment of pause, a portal between the rest of the weekend and the demands of the week ahead. In this silence, the inner voices get louder. It's in this moment that the distance between who you are and who you'd like to be becomes almost palpable, an uncomfortable presence in the same room. This presence, this feeling of "this is just who I am," is the final guardian of your cage. It is your identity. Your brain, besides being an energy saver and a reward seeker, is obsessed with coherence. It needs a consistent story about who you are to predict the world and make quick decisions. And every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. When you hit the snooze button, you're not just buying 10 more minutes of sleep. You're casting a vote for "I am a person who lacks morning discipline." When you avoid a difficult task, you're not just procrastinating, you're voting for "I am a person who runs from challenges." Repeat these votes enough times, and they cease to be actions and become an identity. And here is the most sophisticated trap of all. Once this identity is consolidated, your brain will do everything to protect it. It will filter reality to confirm this belief. It will generate thoughts and feelings that push you to act consistently with this self-image, creating a feedback loop that is nearly impossible to break. Trying to adopt a new habit that contradicts your identity is like waging an internal civil war. You might even act differently for a day or two, but the guardian will soon show up with thoughts like, "Who are you trying to fool? This isn't you. Go back to what's familiar." This is the real reason why change that doesn't come from within, from the identity, never lasts. There's no point in changing the curtains if you don't rebuild the house's foundation. So far, we have seen the architecture of your prison. The walls are made of the brain's quest for efficiency. The bars are the lie of motivation. And today, you've met the guardian of this prison, your own identity. But there's a flaw in the design of this cage, a game-changing truth. It was built brick by brick, and anything that has been built can be deconstructed and reconstructed. From now on, we will no longer talk about the trap. We will talk about the escape. We are going to become the architects of our own liberation. Step 1. The blueprint of your new self. Pick up a photograph of yourself from 10 years ago. Look at that person. The clothes, the hair, the expression in their eyes. In some ways, they're familiar. In others, they're almost a stranger. This experience proves a fundamental truth. You are not a fixed entity. You have already changed, and you will continue to change. Identity is not a stone, it's a river. The difference is that until today, this river has flowed without a defined course, shaped by the currents of chance. From now on, we will take on the role of engineers and build the dams and canals to direct this flow. We will draw the blueprint of the person you wish to become. This is the first and most crucial step of the method. Clearly define your new identity. And here is the game-changing distinction. We are not going to focus on goals. We are going to focus on identity. A goal is an outcome. Write a book, lose 20 pounds. Identity is a system of being. To be a writer, to be a healthy and active person. Goals are about what you want to have. Identity is about who you want to be. When you focus only on the goal, the journey is a burden to be endured until the final destination. When you focus on the identity, every action becomes an act of affirmation, a pleasure in itself as it reinforces who you are becoming. To draw this blueprint, you need to answer profound questions. Take a notebook, and instead of asking, "What do I want?" ask, "Who do I want to be?" Be relentlessly specific. "I want to be more confident" is vague and useless. "I want to be the kind of person who, in a meeting, expresses their opinions calmly and articulately, even if they are unpopular." That is a blueprint. Ask yourself the architect's questions. How does this new version of me think? What are their core beliefs about themselves and the world? How do they act on a difficult day when motivation is gone? What do they read? Who do they talk to? What is their morning routine? Describe this person with the rich detail of a novelist creating their main character. This clarity is not an exercise in positive thinking. It is an act of programming. You are giving your brain, that supercomputer, a new, clear, and defined target. A new self for which it can begin to optimize its neural pathways.
Step 2. Action as a construction tool. Imagine yourself learning to drive. The instructor beside you, the new car smell, your hands sweating on the steering wheel. You don't learn to drive by reading the manual or watching videos. You learn by feeling the weight of the clutch, missing a gear shift, feeling the small jolt of the car. Your body learns before your conscious mind does. Every movement, every adjustment, every mistake slowly sculpts the neural networks of the driving skill. Until one day, you're on the road, listening to music, thinking about life, and driving has become automatic. This process is neuroplasticity in action. And this is exactly the principle we will use to build your new identity. With the blueprint in hand, we arrive at the second step. Fake it constructively. The word fake here has nothing to do with falsehood. Think of it like an actor studying and embodying a character. He is not lying. He is living a different truth so that the audience can believe. In our case, the audience is your own brain. Acting as if you were already the person you want to be is the fastest way to teach your brain what it's like to be that person. You are providing it with the practical data, the bodily experience, so it can start building the neural pathways that support this new identity. The implementation is daily and deliberate. Look at your blueprint and ask yourself, what small action can I take today that is consistent with the person I am becoming? If your new identity is that of a focused person, maybe the action is to work for 25 minutes without looking at your phone. Not because you feel focused, but because that's what a focused person does. If your identity is that of a healthy individual, maybe the action is to order the salad instead of the fries. Not because you're in the mood for it, but because it's the choice this new version of you would make. Start incorporating the behaviors in the details. Dress how this person would dress for work. Organize your desk as they would organize it. Speak with the posture and tone of voice they would have. Each of these actions is a brick you lay. At first it feels artificial, uncomfortable. It's your brain protesting the energy expenditure. But remember the car. Repetition transforms the artificial into automatic, the uncomfortable into familiar, and the faking into truth.
Step 3. The cement of change, creating irrefutable proof. Think of a scientist leaning over a microscope in the middle of the night. They aren't just observing. Beside them, there's a notebook where every discovery, every anomaly, every result is meticulously recorded. An observation without a record is just a fleeting memory, vulnerable to being forgotten and doubted. It's the act of recording that turns observation into data. It's the accumulated data that becomes evidence. And it's the evidence that ultimately proves the theory. Now you will become the scientist of your own transformation. We arrive at the third step, the cement that will bind the bricks of your new construction. Create daily evidence. Why is this so vital? Because your brain has a strong negativity bias. It's wired to give more weight to mistakes and failures as a survival mechanism. Furthermore, the guardian of your old identity, whom we met earlier, is a stubborn skeptic. It will ignore your new actions and whisper, "That was just luck, a one-time thing. You haven't really changed." To overcome this skepticism, you can't argue with feelings. You need to present concrete proof, a dossier of irrefutable evidence. The practice is a simple but powerful ritual. Every night before going to sleep, take your notebook, your lab journal, and write down 3 things you did that day that are evidence of your new identity. They don't have to be grand achievements. The brain learns through frequency, not intensity. For example, evidence 1, I made my bed as soon as I got up. Vote for, I am an organized person. Evidence 2, I drank a glass of water instead of soda at lunch. Vote for, I am a person who takes care of their health. Evidence 3, I listened to my coworker without interrupting, even though I disagreed with them. Vote for, I am a good listener. The physical act of writing is crucial. It takes the action out of the abstract world of memory and materializes it on paper. It transforms a fleeting behavior into lasting proof. By doing this day after day, you are not just acting like the new person. You are building a file, a catalog of proof that documents their birth. Reading these entries regularly strengthens the neural connections you are forming. You are literally showing your brain its new truth, written in black and white. The actions are the bricks. The blueprint is the guide. But this evidence journal is the cement that makes the structure unshakable.
Think of the great cathedrals of the world. They weren't built in a year or even a decade. They were centuries-long projects. Each generation of artisans would arrive, consult the original blueprint, and lay their stones, building upon the work of those who came before. Identity is your personal cathedral. It's not a project with a deadline, but a masterpiece in constant construction. The blueprint, your clarity, the bricks, your actions, and the cement, your evidence, are not tools you use once and then discard. They are the instruments of your daily craft as the architect of yourself. True, lasting transformation doesn't come from chasing a goal, but from embodying a new identity.
When you become a runner, you no longer need discipline to run. You simply run. When you become a reader, the internal debate about picking up the book or the phone disappears. The actions that were once difficult become the natural expression of who you are. Faking it till you make it is just the scaffolding you use to build the structure. Deliberate actions and the recording of evidence are the process of turning that scaffolding into a real building of stone and mortar. One day, you'll look back and realize you're no longer faking it. The scaffolding is gone, and the cathedral remains. You might ask, what if I fail one day? What if I vote for my old identity? A storm might break a stained glass window in the cathedral, but the builders wouldn't demolish it for that. The next day, they return, consult the blueprint, and begin the repair work. One action does not define your identity unless you let it. Every dawn offers you a new choice. You can take the paved, comfortable highway of who you've always been, or you can pick up your tools and lay another brick in the construction of who you want to be. Identity is built day by day. The person you will be a year from now is the cumulative result of the choices you make today. Your reconstruction journey doesn't have to be a solitary one. Share in the comments one action you will take today to start building your new version. Let's inspire each other. And if you want a detailed guide on this journey, the link to the Rebuild Yourself in 10 Days Challenge is in the description. If this manual for personal architecture made sense to you, share your insights, like so it can reach more builders, and start today on your greatest work, yourself.